Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and it is another brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today is somebody that is a very awesome person. Their birthday is this week, and they wanted to come up here and not only bless your boy, Benjamin Banks, but they wanted to bless you guys because their birthday is this week. And that is Jojozbizarre Cosplay, and that isn't Jojo with an S, but it's with a Z. Jojo, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm ready to get into this interview. I'm so hyped. I'm glad that you are joining me up here today. And before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link down below in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. So, yo, I'm super excited. I'm ready to get into this interview. But the first thing I got to say before we even start is when I had messaged you earlier, and a lot of people, you may know this, you may not know this, but I always like to be surprised by the guests that I have up here on Who's That Cosplayer. And I'm always like, wear your favorite cosplay, don't tell me what it is. And JoJo's was like, this is the biggest wig that I am wearing yet. And I just want to say, your cosplay looks phenomenal. You get a pinky.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it looks awesome. That character that you're cosplaying is from Danganronpa, right?
Yeah.
Junko. And just to let everybody know, we interviewed Amanda C. Miller, who voiced Junko in that game, and you can either watch that interview or you can listen to it on the podcast. It is up here on the channel. So now to get into the first question that I ask every guest up here on Who's That Cosplayer, what is your origin story? Every villain or hero has one, so tell everybody who you are.
I am from Louisiana. I'm from a really small town, so there's really no, like, I may be like two other cosplayers, and one's like my best friend that got into cosplay just because she didn't want me to fill left out. So, I started working at a doctor's office like a year ago, and one of the ladies who worked there, she was going to take her kids to Fan Expo Dallas.
Nice.
And I'd always wanted to go to a convention, so I convinced my parents to let me go since she was a coworker and they trusted her. And that was like my first convention. Granted, it was probably like a really bad idea to make like a huge convention my big first one, because I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I was like, I thought I looked so good at the time, but I've improved so much. So it's crazy to look at that from the convention that I went to in 2021, and I just went back to Dallas Fan Expo 2022, and the difference between those two are amazing, and the growth between that time. It was like my accounts and the people that I've met. It's amazing. So that's really how I started. I mean, I've been cosplaying like closet cosplays and stuff like that since I was like 12 or 13. I kind of stopped a little bit when I got into high school because I was like, kids are mean.
Yeah.
Kids are mean. I was like, oh, I want to get bullied. And then, of course, when COVID happened, I was like, I really don't care anymore. I'm like, it's time for me, like, high school's over with, basically. We got kicked out. I mean, it's over with. So, and then that's really what got me back into it, and I've just been hooked on it ever since. And I've met some of my best friends ever through this that I couldn't have made just like being a normal person.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's just so weird whenever I hear people say that, like they didn't want to either cosplay or show that they were a nerd in high school because they didn't want to get bullied. It's just weird because you would think that it's 2022. And
exactly.
It's like everybody's a nerd now. And now, see, the thing is, like when I was in high school, and I'm not about to show my age, but I used to always say that people were undercover nerds because a lot of people who I went to school with, it's just like when I see them now, like they're nerds. And I'm not a gatekeeper. I'm not going to call somebody out because it's like, they didn't want to be a nerd, because it's just like, you don't want to get bullied. You don't want to get picked on. And it's just, it's wild that it's still like that. And, I love that you went to your first con, even though it was a big one, that's still an experience, because I feel like it gives you those experience points. So it's just like, okay, if I go to a smaller one, I'll be able to handle a smaller one now. But if I go back to another big one, I'll be able to handle it because I've been to one.
Going to a bigger convention and seeing like the level of cosplay and everything there just makes you want to work harder and strive. Like, I can be like that one day if I just keep working. Like, that's how they got there.
So
and going back
I'm sorry.
Going back to the thing in school, when I was in middle school, all the boys, they had like the Dragon Ball action figures and everything. And I was like, where do I get those? But then they were like, you can't have those because you're a girl. So I used to pay for it. I was a girl who knew everything about Dragon Ball, who knew everything about Pokemon, knew everything about Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, okay, well then I guess I'll just chill out for a minute. But I kind of figured out, I was like, you know what? Life's too short to care about what other people are going to think about you. Do what's fun for you and what makes you feel accomplished and like you're doing, the best that you can do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And it sucks that people can still be like that. It doesn't matter what age you are and what generation you are. Like, people are just always going to be crappy people, unfortunately. Yeah. But then you got people like us, and then it's just like we click and we're nerds and we love the fandoms and whatnot. And that's what it's all about. It's just finding other people that are nerds like you and just enjoying the same things, which is one of the things that I love about you, is because your cosplay name is Jojozbizarre Cos. And, I'm somewhat of a Jojo's Bizarre Adventure cosplayer myself,
Really? I know, I've seen Jojo. It's really, really cool.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. And, now I wanted to just bring up, because I've seen all of the amazing cosplays that you've done. You've done Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, another one of my favorite series, My Hero Academia. You have so many amazing cosplays. So I want to know, and people always say that this one is a hard question because they can't just choose one, but give me your top 3 favorite cosplays that you've ever done.
Okay. Okay. Definitely, I really like my Jolene cosplay because there's so much. She's such a versatile character. Really, every JoJo character is so versatile. You can do anything with them. So pretty much anything from JoJo would be really good. But I really like Jolene. I just did a Buki Miyota, another Danganronpa character, and the point that makes me like the cosplay the most is I don't look like myself in it, so it's really crazy. And the wig was really fun to do, so I really liked that one. And then probably Princess Peach.
Nice.
I only have the tennis one right now, but me and my grandmother, she's helping me sew the actual dress, so it'll be like my actual first cosplay that actually made by me and my grandmother.
That's all. And that's something that I hear from a lot of guests as well, is when they have family members help them with their cosplay. And I think it's awesome that your grandma is helping you. That we can't move forward. You got to give your grandma a shout out. What's your grandma's name?
I really do. I love her so much.
What's your grandma's name?
Her name's Marilyn.
Hey.
She's gonna watch this and be like, "Why are you talking about me?"
It's like, grandma, it's all in good fun.
Yeah, but it means a lot to me that, my family's willing to help out. Like, my grandma helps out with my costumes. My dad helps out. He helped me with my Princess Peach tennis racket. Shout out, Dad. It just means a lot to me. Like, yeah, you're going to get poked fun at because that's your family. But if anybody else said anything like, oh, she's so weird or anything like that, they would jump on it in an instant and be like, well, she's cooler than you because look at all this stuff she can do.
Exactly. And what are you doing? Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that you have a supportive family when it comes to cosplaying. And now, have any of your family members, have they ever gone to any of the cons with you? And if they have gone to any of the cons, have they cosplayed as any characters or anything?
No. Both my mom and dad are huge nerds. My dad loves Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff. And my mom, she's a really big Walking Dead fan and Winona Earp and stuff like that, Vampire Diaries. But they haven't gone, but my mom takes me to all of them.
Nice.
So she's the unofficial con mom. She doesn't go to the con, but she takes us there and takes care of everybody that goes. So I've been trying to get her to go. She's like, no, I don't want to. Well, you have fun, but maybe one day.
Yeah, she got to come inside. You telling me that, it reminds me of the mom from Monsters University. It's just she drives everybody. No, but but no, yeah, I think that's really awesome, man. And now I want to ask you, because you said that you saw where you started at when you went to your first convention, and then you see where you are now, and you leveled up. So I want to ask you, what have been some of your favorite moments from going to conventions? I
love meeting new people. At least every convention I go to, I leave with at least 10 new friends or even more, and that's My favorite part is someone stopping you and being like, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, absolutely. Do you want my business card so we can keep in touch? Because everybody that I meet, I want to like be mutuals with. That's like my favorite part. And then of course, you know, you get to meet like the people who voice your favorite characters and stuff. One of my favorite people to meet, she's like the sweetest person I've ever met in my entire life, is Monica Ryle, who voiced Bulma. And last time I met her, I gave her like prints of my Bulma cosplay, and she was like, this is going up in my room. She's like, I'm hanging these up.
That's awesome.
Amazing. But she's very sweet. Every time I meet her, I make a point to meet her every convention I go to that she's at.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, you know, speaking of your Bulma cosplay, like when I saw it, I was just like, yo, this is dope. And you know, all of the costumes that you've done, like they're really good. And then now you're about to add sewing to your toolbox. And I like, that's something that I've always wanted to learn how to do. Is, I mean, it's cool to purchase the cosplays online and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you actually take the time to learn how to sew and then you get better at it, you keep leveling up, then it's just like the world is yours, because you can cosplay whoever you want. You don't have to wait 2 to 3 months for your costume to come in. Like you can just sew it just like that. And I think that that's going to be really awesome once you start actually doing that type of stuff. So now I want to ask you, I got one more cosplay question for you. And this one actually is a first for Who's That Cosplayer, because this is one of my friends who had this question that she wanted to ask you, because when you had posted in your stories that I was going to be interviewing you, she responded to the story after I put it in my stories, and she was just like, oh my God, I love JoJo's. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, if you could ask her a question, what would you like to ask her? And that is Astro. And she wants to know, what is your absolute dream cosplay that you like to cosplay as one day?
Oh my God.
Who's that cosplayer?
It's the spooky darling.
Well, the dream cosplay that I had, I already got out of the way. So I think I'm working on a new one. But I have, ever since I was like 12 years old, I've had a thing for Vocaloid, you know, Hatsune Miku, everybody from that. I was like, I'm still super into it. Like, I know all of them. But I actually have the figure sitting right here of the exact cosplay that I want to do. This is her white gown. Nice. It's this really pretty, like almost wedding gown, and there's like piano details on it. So that's one that I'm really leaning towards, you know, putting my stuff to. And then also this one is probably a bigger project. It's the strawberry shortcake, nice. And she's little strawberries all over her dress. It's very cute. But I really love Hatsune Miku, Vocaloid, and stuff like that. So those are like my big dream cosplays, is to bring those to life. Because they have so many intricate costumes.
So now, if you are going to do these cosplays, are you going to sew them yourself, or do you think that you'll just purchase them? I think that once you start sewing, I think it would be awesome if you actually did it yourself.
Yeah, if it gets to the point to where I don't have enough time and I want it for a convention, I probably order it, and then if I have time, I could just redo it myself and reinforce it and add my own touches to it. Okay,
all right. Well, hey, thank you, Astro, for asking that question, and I hope that, yeah, she said that she loves you too.
I love Astro. She's so cool.
Yeah, so now you already know what I'm about to get to next, and this is why I love interviewing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure cosplayers, because I gotta know, which part is your favorite part?
Okay, probably part 4, because Josuke's my favorite.
Yes,
I relate to Josuke so much. I relate to him so much. But also, people talk about how Stardust Crusaders isn't any good. It's all filler, blah blah blah. It doesn't really get good until they get to Egypt. But it never fails to make me laugh. Just those episodes. So, and Stardust Crusaders has like a really special place in my heart, because that's the first Jotaro that I got to cosplay as, and that's what I was watching at the time that I went to my first convention, and there were no other Jotaros there, which was really surprising. So I got a lot of attention. So Jotaro has a special place in my heart, but Josuke is my number one. He's my favorite.
Yeah, same. Like Josuke, he's my favorite. Rest in peace to Billy Kometz, who
definitely
Josuke, because it's like he was Josuke, and like that's the reason why part 4 was my favorite part. And even though I do like Jotaro, I like Josuke a lot more, but I love cosplaying as Jotaro. And
Yeah.
I don't think that I'll ever do part 3 Jotaro because it's one that I see a lot at conventions, but I had never seen a part 4 Jotaro. And I was just like, I just love the outfit. I love the white. I love the purple. And when I cosplay that Jotaro, usually I'm the only one. I mean, I haven't ran into another Jotaro part 4 cosplayer, but I have ran into a part 6 Jotaro, and I'm friends with them. And you know, it's crazy because I never thought I would run into a part 6 Jotaro. So it's very interesting. Go ahead.
It's funny that you say it, and he just texted me right now, but my friend Drew, I was the only Jotaro at the convention that, I think it was that Saturday, all day long. And when I was leaving, I saw from afar part 4 Jotaro, and we ran up to each other and we were like, oh my God, the only 2 Jotaros. So we took a picture, and I was so stupid. I didn't think to ask, like, hey, what's your phone number? What's your, do you have social media? How can I get these pictures to you? And when I was leaving, I was Todoroki the second day because I wanted something easy. It was my first cosplays. And I saw his friend who was Narancia the day before as well. I saw them, and he was Jotaro again. And I was like, does your friend want my phone number? And we've been friends for like 2 years now. I really appreciate his friendship. We bonded over a lot of stuff. So it's one of my really good friends that I made from the conventions, which I said it's one of my favorite parts of going to them.
Right. And give that friend a shout out. What's their Instagram so people can check it out?
I don't think he has any social media, but his name's Drew, and I really I love him a lot. Thank you, Drew, for being my friend.
All right, so you already said that your favorite JoJo is Josuke, and your favorite part is part 4. So now I want to ask you, who is your favorite villain?
Oh man, the obvious answer would probably be Dio, but that's because he's really funny to me. I don't know why. It's just kind of hard to take him serious sometimes. And that's because the part in Stardust Crusader is when Paul Naref's going up the stairs and Dio keeps putting him back to the bottom. And I laughed at that for hours. But I mean, he's in so many parts of it. I mean, it's hard not to be like, oh, Dio's like the first one you think of. Yeah. But I wouldn't classify him necessarily a villain, but I love Whole Horse a lot. He was one of my favorite parts of Stardust Crusaders, and I cosplayed him as well. I love him a lot.
Now, did you read the manga that came out? I think it was this year. Yeah, this year.
It broke my heart.
Oh, don't spoil it because I still got to finish it. I only read the first chapter.
It's really good, though. I won't spoil it for you, but it's really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to finish it. But yeah, that's awesome, man. And that's why I always love asking the JoJo questions because you usually get different answers. Like sometimes you do get Dio, sometimes you get Diavola, sometimes you get Cars. And that's why I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because everybody has a different part that they like. And it's crazy, but a lot of people, when I ask them, they say part 4 is their favorite part a lot. So it's just awesome.
I want to say something funny for a minute. I get a lot of like DMs saying like, oh, I love your cosplays and I love that your username's like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference, but it's actually not. I've been nicknamed JoJo since like 4th grade. And when I was in high school, like it was like about the time that it got put on Netflix, the guys in my high school would make like jokes towards me being like, oh, yada yada, blah blah blah. And I would be like, what are you talking about? Like, what is this? And they were like, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I was like, you mean that funky looking anime with the weird art style? And now here I am years later and I'm like obsessed with it. I was like, hey, my name's JoJo. I was like, that's kind of cool. So it's always funny to me that I was like, ugh.
I totally understand it because I was the same way at first when I first saw JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I was just like, passed. And then like I watched it one day and I fell in love with it. And it's crazy because like it was never in my top 5. And we had did a top 5 list on the podcast, and my co-hosts, they were just like, yo, you talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure all the time. How is it not in your top 5? And I was just like, because it's not. And then I moved it into my top 5 because I mean I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I don't like people that do not like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's one thing if you don't like it, but it's one thing if you hate it. If you hate it, then I don't like it. You know? So now I want to ask you, moving away from the cosplay stuff, like what are some of your hobbies that you're into when you're not cosplaying?
Sometimes I do art. I'm not calling myself an artist or anything, but I do like to draw OCs and stuff. And I'm a musician. I play guitar and I sing. I was in the gifted program at in high school for since I think sophomore year, so about 3 years. But I've always done that. I like to collect like records and stuff. One of my recent ones that I got was Prince's 1999 album, and it's like sealed and conditioned to everything. It's my favorite Prince album. So, and I collect like figures and manga and stuff. So, yeah. Other than cosplay, I mean, that's pretty much. I go home. I get off work. I go home. I get in cosplay. I film. I go to conventions. Like, it's pretty much my main hobbies, and they all kind of revolve around that.
I love all of that, and it's interesting because it goes back to Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. You love Prince, and Josuke is based.
That's
off,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I love Josuke so much. Is because like I looked at him for a minute and it didn't hit me, and then all of a sudden it hit me, and I'm like, oh my god, he's based off of Prince. I was like, this is amazing. So like I relate to him a lot, and also him being based off of Prince. Prince has a special place in my heart. Because, you know, growing up on that, my dad would show me Prince and stuff. I'm pretty sure, like, one of the first songs I learned the words to was When Doves Cry. And I would make it play repeat. So, Josuke and Prince mean a lot to me. And I'm really glad that Araki, like, puts all of this pop culture into this media. So, you know, some people that might not have been into that, you know, they see JoJo's and they're like, hey, maybe I should get into that too. So, I really love that. It combines, like, two of my favorite things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because I know when I watched part 1 and like when they were saying like Robert EO Speed, I was just like, what? Robert,
and I slowly put it together and I was like, Ario Speed?
Yeah, I know. And then like then Ton Petty and you know, all of the music stuff in part 1. And I was just like, okay, man. And then when you get to part 2 and
then it's the dead moment of silence and Roundabout starts playing at the beginning, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, man. My favorite Roundabout is still the one when Caesar and Joseph are about to fight against the Pillarmen. And like it's the upbeat version. I was just like, oh, sound like it's getting serious now. And yeah, man. Hey, look, I could talk about JoJo for hours. And
I could too.
One last thing I wanted to say about Prince was when he had passed away, I wrestled at a show that weekend. And I came out to the ring to When Doves Cry because that's my favorite Prince song. And like nobody reacted to it. And I was just like, you guys are soulless. Like
I would have been crying.
Yo, that's what I'm saying. Like it was a tribute to Prince, and like these people, they didn't care, but you know, it was only like 10 people in the building, so that's probably fine. But
can I ask you a question?
Yes. Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I saw that you're into wrestling and you wrestle yourself. I wanted to know if you had a favorite wrestler.
Yes, my favorite wrestler, I have 2. It's Macho Man Randy Savage and The Rock. Like the Macho Man is the one when I was a kid and I would watch, and I was just like, yo, this man is so awesome. Like snap into a Slim Jim. Ooh, yeah. You know, all of that stuff. And then The Rock, because as I got older, I stopped watching wrestling. And when I saw The Rock for the first time, and you know, he had all the catchphrases and stuff, and he brought me back into wrestling, and he's the reason why I wanted to become a professional wrestler. So yeah,
that's so cool.
Thank you. Hey, it's not so often that I get asked a question on who's
I've been meaning to ask you that because I'm a wrestling fan myself.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
I grew up like in the era of when my dad had me watching Monday Night Raw every Monday. We sat down and watched it. We recorded it. It was like tradition. But I grew up in the era when DX came back together. So Shawn Michaels and Triple H and like that whole thing that went on. Exactly.
Yeah, so that was about like 07. 07 when we got back together, I think. Yeah, it was 07.
Yeah, but
man.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead.
And Shawn Michaels and Triple H, probably my top 2. They're like most memorable for me. And The Undertaker.
Nice. Now, have you ever gone to a wrestling show?
I went to one. It was like, you know how they put on the ones in like convention centers that's supposed to be like WrestleMania, but not actually WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And they're selling like official like wrestlers merch there to make you think those wrestlers are going to be there, but they're actually not. And you're like, oh, this sucks. I'm let down now. So I really don't remember anything from it other than, you know, I went to it, but there was like local people.
Yeah, so indie wrestling. Yeah, because I mean that's pretty much what I do. Like I wrestle in the indies, and it's like every indie wrestler, they hope to make it one day to one of the bigger companies, whether it be WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor. You know, it's like those are the goals that all indie wrestlers have. And then some indie wrestlers, they just love just wrestling on the indies and just doing their thing. So, you know, Jojo, we're here at the end of the interview, and I just want to let you know that it was a bizarre interview and it was a fun one. And before I let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you.
I'm at TikTok at Jojozbizarre. It's Jojo's with a Z. And then Instagram at Jojozbizarre Cos, Jojo's with a Z again.
Awesome. Hey, and you guys know where you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again, Jojo, for joining me up here. Y'all make sure that y'all go. Yo, you're welcome. You're welcome. Y'all make sure that y'all go support and follow her on all her social media accounts. Make sure you check out some more interviews that we have here on the channel, along with reaction videos and reviews. Make sure you check out our podcast where we have brand new episodes every Tuesday. The link is down below in the description. And then we have the video of that interview up here on YouTube on Friday. So like I always say, keep that pinky up, stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.